Hi Shades family, how's everybody doing? For those of you who may be watching that aren't familiar with who I am, I'm Miss Leslie. I am the director of the Shades program at our New Hopewell Elementary site. And if you're anything like me during this time of quarantine or being stuck at home, you may be looking for something fun you can do. And this one is something I've actually done before, and I'm going to do it again today because I really enjoyed it. I love how it turned out. And this is something you can do. Maybe you're going through your clothes, your spring cleaning, things you can get rid of because now you have the time to do all that. And this is something you can do to take maybe that old item you were considering getting rid of and giving it a facelift. So if you know anything about me, you may have noticed that I love my shirts that have been bleached or dyed, distressed in any kind of way. And so today I'm going to show you how to take, for me, an old rug that I have sitting in the entryway where you come in from my garage. And I'm going to take that rug and I'm going to dye it and I'm going to give it a new breath of life. This process is called over dyeing. If you look up over dyed rugs, you can see they're quite expensive. This way is very affordable and practical because you already have the rug. And I'll be showing you the supplies that you need, and it won't cost you more than $10 probably for all of it. And all of this stuff is available at places that are still open right now. So if you happen to go to the grocery store to get more supplies, more toilet paper, you can pick up some of these things, and it's something fun that you and your child can do at home. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some gloves. I have just these vinyl ones. You can use any kind, just food handling gloves, just something so that way the dye, if it gets on your hands, it's okay, because this is permanent dye. Whatever it gets on, it's going to stain. That includes your skin. It'll eventually come off your skin, but it'll take a while. So I suggest gloves. And the dye that I'm going to be using is RIT dye. This can be found in quite a few surprising places. You can find it at Kroger, Walmart, Food City, Target. If you go to the RIT dye website, which I'm going to recommend because they give you so many great techniques, ideas, inspiration, but they also have a store locator where you can look up where you can find the RIT dye. It comes in so many colors. They also give you the choices that maybe this color is not exactly what you want. They give you the options to show you what colors you mix to make the desired color you are wanting. And this could also be a fun part to do with your child in the classic, if I mix this color with this color, what am I going to get? Are they complementary colors? Is it going to just turn brown because they are and I shouldn't have mixed them together? So this is something fun to do. So I'm actually going to mix two colors. I have eggplant and I have wine because I don't want it to be too purple. I don't want it to be too red. So I'm actually going to mix these two together. So you'll need your gloves, your dye. This part is optional. You can get the RIT color dye fixative, and this is what you spray on after you dye, which you'll see as I go through the steps. But this helps the dye, it enhances the color. It also helps it keep from bleeding completely, and if you've tie-dyed before, when you rinse it out, you see a lot come out. This helps keep that from happening. You will need a spray bottle. I got this at the dollar store for $1. This is going to help you if it's a big rug, maybe you don't want to do the tub dyeing technique or bucket, you want to hand spray it, which is what I'm going to be doing. You'll want a spray bottle. And then when it is all done, you're going to want some type of Scotch Guard or fabric sealant. This is just your classic Protect All waterproofer. And once your rug is dry, you're going to spray it with this, and this helps for when maybe you're coming in, it's been raining or snowing or something like that. It's going to help if the rug does happen to get wet for any reason. It's going to help keep that dye from bleeding out. So like I said, we are going to be doing a rug today. You can do so many things, and it makes me look around my house and see what else I can dye. So just because I'm doing a rug, that doesn't mean you have to do your rug. I encourage you and your child maybe get together. You could do curtains, a set of sheets. I love doing that. I think that's such a cool idea. Maybe you have a bath towel that's like dingy. It's just doesn't wash out the way it used to. You could dye it dish towels, napkins. I've actually seen where you can do lampshades, wooden frames. Your options are quite unlimited in this, and it's something fun that you guys can do together. If your child has come with me during the summer when we've tie-dyed during 4th of July, I think I'm always more excited than them to rinse it out and see that final product. So it is supposed to be nice the next few days here in Knoxville, which is great because you can do this indoors. It's best to do it outdoors just to be on the safe side. And for whatever item you're doing, it's gonna be nice the next few days, almost in the 80s. It's perfect for leaving your items sit outside to dry for a few hours completely. So I am going to go ahead and change, because obviously you don't want to wear something you don't want to get messed up. But some steps I'm going to do that I'm not going to exactly show you is, if you're doing a rug or any item, you want to make sure it's clean. So for my rug, I'm going to make sure I vacuum it really well. I don't have any pets that shed. I do have a new pet, which if you tune in for a future video that I do, you may get to meet that pet. But if you have a dog or a cat, you all have kids. They love to track in dirt. So you just want to make sure you vacuum the rug, maybe both sides of it, front, the side you walk on, and flip it over and vacuum the side that's on the floor. So you're going to want to vacuum your rug, and then you're going to want to wet your rug and then sit it on a tarp if you have one. If not, you can take a trash bag, cut it in half, lay it out depending on how big your rug is. So that is what I'm going to do that I'm not going to exactly show. And then I'll see you guys in a few minutes. All right, hello again. I've changed clothes. I have vacuumed my rug, both sides. I wet it with my water hose, and it is on the tarp in my driveway, ready to go. So now I'm going to show you how to get your dye ready in your spray bottle. I've got my gloves on because I'm going to start working with the dye. And even in this process, it can easily get on your hands, and we don't want that. So what you're gonna need is, you're gonna want to do 1 cup of dye to 2 cups of water. Now, I'm just using the water from my sink. I put it on the hottest setting, let it run for a little bit, get hot, and then that's what I put in my spray bottle. If your water in your sink doesn't get as hot as you think you need it to get, you can boil water on the stove, or you can do, maybe you have a coffee maker, something like that. Of course, you will have to assist your child in that part. If you're having your child help you and you're doing it at the sink, they should be fine. Now, you can have some math brought into this. I have my little liquid measuring cup. That way I can measure my 2 cups of water. And where I am using 2 different colors of dye, I'm only gonna need a 1/2 cup of each to make my full cup. So you can give your child some math problems here. Your typical, if I was gonna double this, how many cups of water would I need? Maybe I don't need that much if I cut it in half. I know the 5th graders are working on their mixed fractions. That's a great way for them to multiply those, divide those. For your younger ones, just the simple math. I think they forget sometimes that you use math more than you realize. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with 2 cups of hot water. And then I'm going to do 1/2 cup of my wine color dye, 1/2 cup of my eggplant dye, and then pour that into the spray bottle as well. So give me one moment and we will see the process done. All right, I've moved you down a little better so you can see what I'm doing. So I have my 2 cups of hot water here, and I'm going to take it and pour it into my spray bottle. All right, so I have it in my spray bottle now. I am going to go ahead and do another 2 cups. This will keep me from having to come back in halfway through and have to prepare another bottle. So that is, if you ask your kids, how many cups is that going to be? That will give me 4 cups of hot water that I'm going to have in my spray bottle. All right, so I now have my 4 cups of hot water. That's a little better because as you can see, the water is coming up almost to the top of the spray bottle. So now let's get our dye ready. You want to kind of shake it up a little bit just in case it's been sitting around for a little while. So another math problem for your child. So since I'm now doubling my measurements, how many halves am I going to need to get to the 2 cups of dye? And then make it even more complicated. Okay, so I need 4 halves. How many halves am I going to need of each dye? That way you're still making their brain work a little bit, even though we're doing something fun and crafty. So I'm going to take, again, my liquid measuring cup. I'm going to put in 1 cup of my wine dye, 1 cup of my eggplant dye. All right, I have my dye in my warm water in my spray bottle. Now, one thing, just a tip, is, well, a few things, is just in case I thought of this after I'd already done the other part, if you do have a dog or cat, or this is a rug that's been in a high traffic area and maybe it has an odor to it, maybe you want to neutralize the odor first. A great way to do that is to actually sprinkle your rug with baking powder, baking soda. Let it sit for a little bit, then vacuum that up when you vacuum your rug. That way you're kind of cleaning it a little extra before you dye it. So that's just a tip before you vacuum it and wet it. And then your tip for this is you always want to make sure your water is warm in your spray bottle. Now the spraying it isn't going to take that long, so it shouldn't be an issue with the water cooling off or getting cold, but you just want to make sure the water stays warm. So let's go on outside. I'll show you my setup and I'll show you what the rug looks like now. So that way when we see the final product, you can see what a difference it makes. The fun thing about this with over dyeing the rug is, especially if you take a rug or any item that already has an existing pattern on it, is this kind of transforms the whole rug. It makes it so neat that now this pattern that was maybe in the foreground, you're putting another layer of dye over it. That dye is kind of changing some of the colors that were already there. Now that background is kind of the foreground, your pattern is now peeking through this new color that you're putting over it. So the rug that I'm doing, it is more of a cream base. You'll see it when I show you, but it does already have some colors peeking through it. So what will be cool is once I dye this, that pattern and those colors are still going to show through, but in a different tone. So if you do, another cool idea is obviously doing a plaid shirt or a flannel shirt, over dyeing it, it's taking that existing plaid pattern that's already there and enhancing it, kind of changing the color a little bit, and it gives that shirt just an overall brand new look. So that's why I think this is such a fun thing to do, because you can allow your kids to form their own hypothesis as to what they think is going to happen. How is it going to look? What are these colors going to look like after we dye it? It's just something fun to do. It's exciting, a way to take something you already have that maybe you were going to throw away and give it new life. So let's head on outside and we will get started on the fun part. All right, so we are now outside in my driveway. Here's my little setup I have. I've got just a trash bag I took and cut in half. I have just some extra tiles I had laying around to hold it down. You can tape it down. Something just so if the wind blows, it's not gonna mess it up. Now this is my rug that we are going to be doing. As you can see, there are already some really cool colors and stuff that were already in here. And it still has that cream. So we're just gonna take all those cream and those neutral tones and we are going to change them into this new purple color. So I have my spray bottle and I'm gonna show you just how simple this is. So you're gonna take your spray bottle and you're just gonna start spraying. And can you see how it's already changing those areas that I've sprayed? So now if I already have some purple or some red tones in here in this rug, it's gonna kind of just darken those and enhance those a little bit. And then all of this cream color that I have, it's now going to change into this gorgeous color that we have mixed together. So if you look, you can already see that transformation from what we've sprayed to how it was originally. So I'm going to finish this and then I will show you what it looks like when you are all done spraying the entire rug. Okay guys, here is the rug all done being sprayed. Now where this is a smaller rug, it did only take just the one bottle. Now when I did this previously, I was doing some runners that were actually about 9 feet by 2 feet. So those runners did take 2 spray bottles worth just to get the full coverage. Where this one's smaller, it only took 1. So I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes, and while it does, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna mix together the fixative, the dye fixative in the spray bottle. That way I can spray it on the rug, and that will make sure the color stays nice and bright and it doesn't bleed out too bad when I rinse it. So let's go do that. Okay, so we have got our rug completely sprayed and dyed to the color that I'm satisfied with. Of course, you can spray or dye, whatever you're doing, as many times until you get to that color you want. Maybe you don't want it to be super dark, so don't use as much dye or don't leave it in there as long, or you want it to be a nice, rich, dark color. Keep applying the dye, leave it in the dye as long as you want until it gets that color you want. So now what I've done is I've taken my spray bottle, the one I used for my dye, just rinsed it out so that way I could reuse it. I took my dye fixative and I kind of diluted it a little bit because you don't need much. You're just putting a coat on top of all that dye that you've done. So I did 1/4 cup of the dye fixative, and then I just added 3/4 cup of water to get it to that 1 cup. So there's another fun math problem for your child. If I add the 1/4 of the fixative, how much water do I need to add to get to a full whole cup? So some steps that I'm gonna save you your time on is I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna spray this on the rug. I'm gonna let it sit just for about a half an hour, just to make sure that dye has enough time to sit there and really soak into that fabric. So when I rinse it out, not as much rinses out. Now, here's what you need to remember for when you rinse any item that you dye. If you're not doing a rug, maybe you're doing a t-shirt. You want to rinse that item until the water runs clear. If you don't, if you wear that item, or if it's a shirt or something like that you're gonna wash, that first time you go to wash that item, that color is gonna bleed, and now all of a sudden, everything that was in the washer is blue, just like the shirt that you dyed. So you wanna make sure you rinse it until no more dye runs out. So for my rug, another thing is if you're doing a rug or something like that, I have a light colored driveway. So I'm not going to rinse my rug in my driveway because I don't want all that dye running out onto it and then staining my driveway. So I'm actually gonna go into the road and do it there. But if you have a dark driveway, it shouldn't be a problem because just remember, anything the dye touches, it will stain. Then when it comes to letting it dry, if you leave it laying in your driveway, again, like mine maybe, where it has a light color, I would maybe lay it on top of something just so while it's sitting there drying, it won't stain it. Or if you hang it over maybe a deck or a porch, I would just put a barrier between that item and whatever you're hanging it over to dry. Because sometimes it may still drip or leave a residue and you just don't want to, let's say, hang it over your banister on your porch, you come to move it, now you have a stain right there from where you dyed it. So just make sure you're putting a barrier until this item is fully dry between anything it is coming in contact with. So I'm going to spray it with my fixative, let it sit for about half an hour. I'm gonna rinse it until it completely runs clear, and then I'm gonna let it dry. It's about 10 after 4, and so I'm gonna let it dry outside until the sun sets. If it's not fully dry by that time, then I will just kind of hang it over and let it dry throughout the night. But where it is so pretty out today and nice, then I shouldn't have any issues. So once my rug is dry for the rug, then I will take my fabric sealant, spray a nice coat of this on it, and let it dry also. So that way, when I put the rug back inside, if I come in, my shoes are wet or something like that, or I accidentally maybe spill water right there, that dye is not gonna bleed or anything or get on my floor. I also suggest maybe using, most people use these anyways, like maybe a non-slip mat or something like that. So there's a barrier between, if you're doing a rug, the floor, just in case. But let me go do that, and then once I rinse it, I will show you guys what it looks like. All right, here is the rug. It has been completely rinsed until the water ran clear. So I now have it laying here since it's, this is the time of day when the sun's in the front of my house the most. So I'm gonna leave it here until about dark, and then I'll probably hang it in my garage or something like that if it's not completely dry by then, to let it finish drying. So it will lighten up as it dries more because it is still pretty wet. So I will be sure at the beginning of my video that I do later on this week to show it to you completely done and back in its home inside my house, and keep you guys updated on it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this fun tutorial. I know it ended up being a little more on the longer end than I expected it to, but I want to make sure I covered every step so that there were no questions or confusion. But yeah, this is just something fun that you can do. It takes just a couple hours, and that's just in, you know, your time and letting it soak, letting it dry, things like that. So I do want to encourage you though, if this is something you enjoyed and you're like, oh man, now I have a couple more weeks left, what else can I dye? I encourage you to go to ritdye.com. You can click on their inspiration tab. You can click on the technique tab. It'll give you all kinds of ways to dye things, ideas on what you can dye. The great thing is this bottle dye is affordable. It's about $4.50 for a bottle, and I still have dye left from those bottles that I used, and that's the third rug that I've dyed. So you can get a ton of projects out of this. So like I said, it's very affordable. If you're worried about not being able to get it because we are on this safer at home order right now and things being closed, like I said, you can find them at grocery stores, Kroger, Food City, Target, Walmart. So if you do have a day where you're having to go get more groceries or things like that, just swing through your craft area and it should be there. Like I said, you can use the store locator on Rit Dye and it'll show you exactly which stores have it. And I challenge you that you've seen my before and after. If you do decide to do something like this, I would love to see your before and afters also. We will be doing 2 videos a week, so I'll be doing 1 more video this week. I'll probably upload it on Friday because it is going to involve some special guests, and so I'll have to have time to film those and put it together. But I want you to know I miss you guys so much. I hope you're all doing well, staying healthy, finding things to do, challenging your brains, staying active, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.